Hi there, Ali Motion from Process Evolution with another bite-sized video. Today's theme is very much about workshops, and the title of today's presentation is 6 Reasons Why Workshops Fail, a guide to running effective workshops. So the reason we've done this today, one of the most routine questions that I'm asked during training courses or generally just support calls is, how can we be better at running effective workshops? Why do my workshops fail, and what can I do to improve them? So I think the first thing to start with is a realization that running workshops can be challenging. For many people, running workshops is something they don't do very often. They're out of their comfort zone. Not only is the person running it or facilitating it uncomfortable, but the attendees themselves can be uncomfortable. They've maybe never attended a workshop like this before, and in their heads they're thinking, why is the facilitator asking me this? What does it mean? What's the impact of what we're talking about today? What does it mean for the long term? And actually, a lot of people are just not comfortable estimating durations or frequencies, even though it might be something that they spend a lot of time doing the processes themselves. It may feel like they're being put on the spot when answering those types of questions. I suppose that the first thing we ought to start with is, why do we have workshops? So what is the purpose or the benefits to workshops? And I always think it's very much context specific, but really in our line of work, workshops tend to be run because there's a lack of systems data or detailed understanding of processes. In many respects, this might be referred to as the known unknowns. In the example of response officers, so police response officers, we know they do more than just attend incidents. They have other tasks that they perform. Now, what are those other tasks? And can we name them? Can we understand how often they occur, i.e. the frequency, and the amount of time they take, i.e. the duration? So in the response world, we might run police response other task workshops to try and understand all the workload that officers have. I touched on it a second ago, but context is very specific, and it's an important point. What works in one workshop might not be necessarily work in another workshop. It's about what's appropriate. However, there are some principles that it might be worth thinking about when running or planning workshops. My opinion is that the vast majority of cases, the success or failure of a workshop is relatively set in stone. It's determined before you get into that workshop. It's about how effectively you've planned, how you're going to spend your time, and who's in the room. So getting into the 6 reasons why I feel that workshops may fail. Generally, there will be people in the room with a lot to say, and you may have certain attendees that take control. It's great that they're enthusiastic, they're involved in what's going on, but this could be at the detriment to everyone else. So, for example, you might have one person who wants to keep answering all the questions and we don't get a view from everyone else. I think that as a role as a facilitator, you want to make sure that you have everyone's opinion, and you're able to understand, is this the collective view? And then there's conversely to this, if you run a 3-hour workshop and someone hasn't said a word throughout that 3-hour workshop, if it was me, I would feel like I'd failed, that I hadn't done enough to engage that person and to get them to really buy into what we're trying to do. In this case as well, seniority can be a factor. What we have seen in the past is junior officers tend to take the lead from their senior counterparts. Okay, so number 3, not dealing with the underlying sentiment at the beginning. Although this one looks like coffee, and yes, there is very much a place for suitable refreshments to help workshops run smoothly, this one's very much about venting. In fact, giving people the opportunity to vent, potentially at the start of the workshop. From a workshop facilitator's point of view, a lot of what you need to do is listening and giving the attendees the chance to be heard. I think one of the things is that a lot of people will turn up to workshops with either a list written down or a list in their head of what's wrong with the business, and they just want to get it out, and they want to for want of a better word, moan about it, but just explain what their thoughts on what's going wrong. If you don't listen to this at the beginning of the workshop and take time to address that, that underlying sentiment will roll through into the whole process, and certainly people will feel that they've not been listened to. So certainly having some time at the beginning to take into account these considerations, at a minimum later on helps you, and it helps people feel that you're empathetic, that you've been listening to what they've had to say. The fourth point is the right people aren't in the room. So generally when we run workshops, people have been nominated, volunteers, dragged in, but the people you have in attendance have a massive part to play in the effectiveness of a workshop. They need to know the processes, they need to know what we're talking about. At the end of the day, they should be the subject matter experts that's coming in. So certainly for having the right people in the room, yes, there's a view that you want to have representation across different geographies or different areas, but also different levels of the organisation, and just be aware of that. So I tend to think about the Goldilocks principle. If you've got people who are too senior, they maybe don't know the detail, they're a bit removed from exactly what's going on a day-to-day basis. Too junior, possibly don't have a wide view, they might have a very narrow view of what's going on in terms of in their area, but they might not see all the implications. So somewhere between the too junior and too senior, you've got just right. And yeah, it can be difficult to find that balance, but it's certainly worth looking for. Also to touch on, once again, seniority in the room, it does impact dynamics. You do find that junior officers are less willing to tell the truth and put across their points of view when their managers or higher-ranking individuals are in the room. Lack of engagement. Number 5 here. Why are we here? A lot of time, people are turning up to workshops and they don't necessarily know what it's about. They've been told to a certain meeting room. They do feel like they've been put on the spot and might not really understand why I'm being taken away from my normal job to speak to these people about this subject. So certainly at the beginning of the session, you want to address that and understand that you're here because you're a subject matter expert and this is what we want to achieve. I find it especially useful if you can have a senior stakeholder pop by to set the scene, especially if you're an external consultant, just that introduction and people to give you a little bit of credence. I think the one thing of why are we here, you must automatically, or in the first 5 minutes or so, put across that this is a meaningful meeting and that the impact of this can be seen going forward. So why are you here? Being able to explain why people are here and actually get them to buy into the process is really important. The final piece, number 6, that lack of structure. Workshops should have a purpose and a goal in mind. And to get to that goal in mind, to get the information that you need, requires some sort of structure. Although, as we see in this picture here, abstract art is pretty, letting things be a bit too free-flowing may result in you not achieving the objectives that you have to set out. So yes, you might get lots of good discussion, but if it doesn't give you the numbers and the actual pieces of information you need, it potentially is wasting some of the potential from that. So just to summarise, we have 6 reasons why workshops may fail, starting with a failure to manage time effectively, certain attendees taking control, not dealing with the underlying sentiment at the beginning or allowing people to vent, not having the right people in the room, be representation, skills, seniority, that sort of thing, lack of engagement, so not explaining why people are here and what benefit will come out of this, and just an inherent lack of structure. So these 6 things really boil down to, most of them come down to preparation. If you prepare your workshop and you understand the structure that you want to take, the people that are coming to your workshop and how you're explaining this, then actually the role of the facilitator becomes much easier. So these 6 points are a checklist to recognise. When these sorts of things are happening, when you feel that your workshop's not quite going as it should be, can you recognise what's going on and where possible take remedial action? It's been a bite-size presentation today from Process Evolution. For more information, please contact me, ali.motion@processevolution.co.uk. Thank you.